Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, and welcome to today's episode number 132 of the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues. As you're logging in, if you'd be kind enough to say where you're logging in from, hit the like button, and feel free to continue doing so throughout the dialogue. If you are catching us on the final edit video replay on the YouTube, when you're there, please subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well. If you enjoy my work and you'd like to support the program, please visit jkdrebel.com. Click on the Rebel Gear link and check out what we offer. But of course, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues. My dialogue partner today is making his second appearance on the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues, and he and I recently had a back and forth over on the YouTube, which prompted me to invite him to come back on the program. So with that, Jason Korol, welcome to the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues.
Okay.
Yeah, right. So yeah, no, it's great fun because it does a couple of things. First, I get to learn more about people that I'd only heard about. So like your first book. Well, to me, it's your first book, and here's why I'm happy that we switch to this
Put it on the screen.
platform.
That's old book.
How you like that?
Old book. I was a young fella when I wrote that.
Right? But this is when I first heard of you. So how long ago was this book?
That's almost 20 years ago. I wrote that in 2002, and I think it got published 03.
Okay. All right. So why?
Why did I write it?
Yes.
I love your questions. Why I wrote it? Because I talk so much, I couldn't get people to stay that long for a conversation. So I figured, I'm going to write a book, and they're going to be forced to listen to me. No. No, I wanted to break it down and go, and I think the big thing out of the first part of the opening chapters are, and I didn't say it this succinctly, obviously, because I'm rather long-winded, as all of my followers probably know. But
what do they know?
Yeah, right. So, that in boxing, if I'm teaching boxing, I don't have to worry about teaching people the foundation of boxing. We have to deal with higher level abstract questions because the bell rings, you know what boxing is. I mean, Jeet Kune Do is the self-defense system. So you have to bring in ethics, epistemology, philosophy. Those things have to come into it. So I wanted it so people can get confused because they haven't seen, what is Jeet Kune Do? What's it supposed to be? And so I was looking to do something that would really kind of help out across the board. And give them kind of an overview instead of just another technical book. And so that book starts with the foundation of it and then goes into like attributes. Before you can defend yourself, you have to be physically fit, right? So, and then I get into things like, speed, power, application, targeting, that kind of thing. So it wasn't a technical how-to as much as it was just like an overview of, where these things are headed and how you're going to be able to achieve them.
So this one then is what? Just...
That's more of a nuts and bolts.
Okay, I see.
That's more of if you're training at the school. This is what we're teaching you. A lot of guys were asking me for like manuals and all that stuff.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. Yeah, because foundations is like that's like a name for the beginner class in some of the martial art business circles. They use the term foundations, right?
Yeah, I always call it like my JKD 101. And if you get that really
right,
I think you're going to be a really good self-defender. If you take the things from that foundations book and you really work on them, this is what I tell people when they come in. Right from day one, I want to try to get you as good as I can at being a good self-defender. I'm not going to make you be able to beat, Mike Tyson in his prime.
Right.
That's going to require a higher level of attributes and so forth and so on. But your reasonable self-defense skills, if you do these things and you get good at them, a reasonable, not SEAL Team 6 is not, if you're hiding terrorists in your basement, you need more than this. But, I think that would be a good way to go.
It's one of the things that I enjoy most about talking with you is that we can never stay on one topic and like go in a linear fashion, right?
If you look up ADHD, right? There's a photo of me I heard somewhere
Right.
with the video.
Right. Because so you just talked about people joining the school, and that actually was one of the questions that I had for you. What can you describe the enrollment process at your school for me?
If you have enough money and you're good looking, you can join. No, seriously.
So then you must have got a ton of people with stimulus check money.
Yeah, man, Dwight, I had a lady come in here the other day, and she was going to sign up, and she had, like, you know, I was asking her about her background, whatever, and she's unemployed. And I'm like, you sign up for martial, you want to sign up for martial art classes, you're unemployed? She goes, I just got a stimulus check. I don't know what else to do. So, but seriously, I try and interview everybody to make sure. I got a couple of things. You know, Warren Buffett always looked at a business he'd invest in. He'd see somebody that had intelligence, that had energy, and it had integrity. And he would always say, if they don't have the third one, the other two don't matter. Right. And so I'm always looking to see, this is my highly professional evaluation. Do I like them? Right? Right? Because I'm going to be dealing with these guys. They're going to be throwing punches and kicks at us and the whole bit. And then the other side, I've got to try to make them into a warrior. I got to make them into a martial artist, be able to defend themselves. And that requires some heavy emotional lifting. So I want to get to know people. So I do a lot of interview style. I ask them a lot of questions. I try to get to know them so I know what makes them tick. And I try to figure out, you know, where they're at, because I could use a reference for somebody. You know, let's say someone is an engineer and they're going to hear things a certain way. I get another guy who's a bass player in a band, and I know this guy's got a lot of problems in life. He's a bass player. That's some joke.
What if he's the drummer? What if he's the drummer? Because the drummer is even behind the bass player.
He's getting no girls. They're getting no girls. So, you know, if he's a lead guitarist, I don't want him to, because he's going to he's going to keep trying to solo on there while I'm teaching. But no. And so, and then I see if it's a good fit. I got to try. It's not Starbucks. They can't come in and they can't just order. Yeah. Right? They just can't do it. So I can't do that with these arts. I mean, I could if I wanted a cookie cutter thing, but that's not what I got into the business. I got into the business because I love people. I love helping people. And so I'm looking for people I can communicate with and try to figure out a way to make them tick. Yeah. And
what is there a question in your intro program? Is there a question you have that is like a must ask question? I was going to call it your favorite question to ask people, but not necessarily. But maybe a must ask question. It's like, do you have one? Can you think of something?
Hi, how are you? Why'd you? And I'm off to the races. Like my wife always says, I could talk to a rock. No, I just start asking them questions about themselves and see where it goes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, first of all, I generally find people interesting. And I've had people come in and they're looking for something different that I don't do. Right? And I want to help them. I don't want to, you know, like Dan Kennedy would say, if everyone's my customer, no one's my customer. That's not ethical. Right? I don't want to try to lasso somebody in. Ooh, I need the money.
Hey, wait.
I could get some money, but
refresh my memory. How much Dan Kennedy stuff? Because we have that in common, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Well, Dan Kennedy is the JKD guy of marketing.
That's exactly what I noticed, man. Yeah. That's what I actually used to draw parallels between Dan Kennedy and Bill Glazer, and Dan Kennedy and Dan Inosanto and Bruce Lee, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So back when you were talking about, you know, if somebody comes into the school, they're going to be throwing punches and kicks at us. The us to whom you're referring, how long is the person who is part of that us? How long has that person been with you?
Usually the people I have on the floor have been training with me for 7, 8 years, 9 years. So they've really been around the block a lot. And so I have people are like senior students and they're coaches. Right. And so I've got a couple of those guys that go out and they'll be pairing up for people right away. Right. You know, but they haven't, but I got to watch them. I got to see their temperament. Right? You want to see the people that are helpful and knowledgeable. And so I'm blessed. Dwight. I've got some great people around here that there's no one thing for years. How many years? Right? It's just a question of when somebody's ready. But the way it goes for this school, anyways, I've got people who've been with me for a while, and there's just they should have their own YouTube channels. They're fantastic instructors, and I couldn't be happier. You know, we just had a couple. A brother and sister that were moving yesterday, and one of the other instructors did most of the work with them. And I can't believe how good they got. And it's funny to watch these people doing stuff at my school using kind of my, I would say my curriculum. It is what it is, and they're doing it so well. And I didn't really work with them that much. And what a cool thing that is. And so the more, I don't have a hard cutoff. They have to be here 6 months, a year, or whatever. As soon as they're willing to help people and they're capable of it, I'd like to have them do it, because I think helping lead people is good for you.
Okay.
Right. I do think that's helpful, but it's just our particular scenario. Our instructors have a lot of experience.
Right. All right. Yeah. Tell me about this book.
Pure and Simple was a case of trying to get back to a understanding of Jeet Kune Do is not this nebulous thing, this esoteric thing you can't ever wrap your brain around. It has a specific starting point of looking at Bruce's beginning in Wing Chun.
Yeah, can I interrupt you there?
Yeah, yeah.
Because Richard, our mutual friend, Richard Torres, just put up something on Facebook, a quote from Bruce Lee that says something like, this Jeet Kune Do of mine, only 1 in 10,000 can get it. And I've heard the quote before, and I thought about it, and I go, that's disastrous. That's not good.
I love you, Richard, if you're listening. No, I don't like that quote either. I think Bruce, and I said before, Bruce said a lot of things, like all of us, that we probably, and I said some of them to, an ex-girlfriend once that I really, but anyway, I'll talk about that in therapy later. But seriously, I don't think that that's a very helpful quote. I think that the quality of the instructor and the coach is to try to get in. I try to grab somebody's heart. Literally, that's the way I think about it. As I tell my guys here, is if we see lack of passion in somebody or lack of understanding, that's on us. We got to try to motivate them. We have to inform them. If we have to pull their heart out and pound on it, get it beating again, and stick it back in. That's what we do. We want our fingers dirty with the soil of the hearts and minds of the people we're teaching. And we're going to carry them, we're going to bring them through. They have to help us out, no doubt. They have to have discipline. They have to have dedication. But JKD can be taught. And it is a science of self-defense. And not everyone's going to put the same level of work into it, have the same passion and capacity for it, but everyone can improve their self-defense skills the same way everybody can improve their grooming. I'm probably a weird way to talk about that. But anyway, so man, if you say 1 in 10,000 people can look like Scarlett Johansson, that's probably right. But that doesn't mean you don't take a shower.
So Scarlett Johansson was my girl up until the other day. I watched a movie called Molly's Game with Jessica Chastain. You know her?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. So you changed. You're off of Scarlett?
It's only up until I see him come on TV and start doing the Hollywood stuff, apologizing for this and apologizing for that. And then I'm like, canceled.
Really?
Yes. I'm like, canceled. Because your job is to get on the movies and entertain me. All right? That's it. I don't turn to you for anything else.
So you're not giving your philosophy and your politics from Hollywood, is that what
No, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm not. Well, as a matter, so that brings me to this. What did you think of ESPN's 30-30 be water thing?
It was like the Michael Jordan thing, right?
I never watched that.
Okay, it reminded me of why I don't like the press, right? It really did. I'm like, what? This is what you do? this is a brilliant man with incredible insights, and they, especially the first 30 minutes, were all a bunch of wokeism, you know, and they're talking about, well, they don't use the quote. Maybe I missed it because I was in the bathroom throwing up, but they don't talk about him saying, you know, hey, if I was the man with the money, I would have my doubts too that a Chinese guy could carry in a Western movie.
Actually, they did.
No, yeah, okay.
They did, but it was, because I talked about it, and now I can't remember, but it was like maybe an hour into it or something.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't right up front or anything, right? But I'll tell you this, see, so that's how I felt about it as well, even before they put it on. I saw an interview with the director and one of the producers, and I knew it was going to be a ton of wokeism, and I was like, this is going to suck. And yeah, it was.
You keep going back and looking at history and going, okay, this is what I know. I can do that to my dad. You know, I can look back at my dad. You know, half the crap my dad said to me when I was growing up, I'd probably get a visit from DSS today. You know, you know, and it's like, you know, judge everything from one particular viewpoint. I don't think that's equitable, and you should have let Bruce tell his story. I think that would have been a better way to go, but they didn't do it. Okay, that's ESPN, but
let's do another book.
Yes, we're moving. Yes, infighting.
Yeah, what's that one about?
It. All jokes aside, infighting. I just want to show the simplicity of the intercepting concept. I think if you're watching this, what I tried to do was connect the infighting and to the Jeet concept. Okay? Not go, oh, Jeet, there's a long Jeet Kune Do, and then on the inside, then I guess I got to do Wing Chun, or I got to start trapping. And there's a lot of confusion out there. And I wanted to say it's part and parcel of you're moving around and you're trying to intercept. The whole idea of Jeet is to cut it off, intercept it, long range, bang, far away as possible. You also do that with the clinch or the bridge. And so if I use a long trap or I get two hands, a headbutt, and elbow, whatever it is I'm going to use, it's still an interception. I'm not going into the infight. I'm using infighting because that's part of my footwork. Okay, Jim Driscoll puts it in his book that infighting and a clinch are part of your defense and footwork. If I'm moving and a guy cuts me off right and left, he's open up the middle. Now I can beat him to the pocket. I don't want to walk in there and go, well, I'm infighting now. And I really wanted to clear that up because that was something that I think even in the area I came out of with ladder stuff with Ted Wong and so forth, that's just not sure. They're not sure what to do with it. There's this, like Terry Tom has a great book called The Straight Lead. And she talks about Bruce, how about Wing Chun was, Bruce left it behind and so forth and so on. And, well, he was fast, but the clinch or infighting skills, contact skills are absolutely necessary because you can't force your way outside. Someone can force their way inside. And what happens if you're not the faster guy? What happens if you're shorter? The extra reach is gonna mitigate your speed. What happens if you're 50? I'm 50. I'm not 25 anymore, right? If your martial art demands that you stay perpetually 25 and in peak condition, you don't have a martial art. What you have is a fantasy.
Right. Somebody, now that reminds me of something. So it was a post probably on the I Love Jeet Kune Do page, because we get the most interesting posts over there. And it was something about being fit and the fitness requirements of JKD, because the image that we have of JKD is a 30-something-year-old Bruce Lee. Right.
Yeah. Ripped to shreds.
Yeah.
How long are you going to sustain that, right?
Yeah.
How long? And so, what I wanted to bring in is the diversity and the unity. The unity is that Jeet concept. I want to beat the guy to the attack. I need to do that. I have certain tactical fundamentals and principles that I then need to apply in a dynamic environment. Those principles are always going to be there, but the way that we express those principles and need to express them in that dynamic environment are going to change according to our position, our place, our attributes, his unique attributes, and so forth. And then I really like the headbutt. I think the headbutt, especially from boxing, you get in and you can use the headbutt, not the head smash. When I first learned it, it was a head smash. You know, a quick headbutt and then punch and get out, or low blow and move and get out.
Yeah.
And that really works well for me as far as the way I'm moving. Someone else might like a certain. So I try to include in the JKD infighting what I consider to be the most direct, the most simple, and the most adaptable measures on the contact range of fighting before you get to grappling, before full ground fighting. And so, and without complicating it, so that we have a bridge, no pun intended, between the long game and the inside game that doesn't require you to kind of jettison the one for the other. And I think that's been kind of that dichotomy in JKD of going, okay, I have this long interception thing, and now I'm trying to figure out how to fit that into my kind of more stationary, I'm clinching now, you know, but there's still, both should be very motion-based. And I have a finishing chapter on Mike Tyson on how Customato, I think that'll help us understand JKD, at least I do, is that Customato was always, you know, think about it, he patterned Mike Tyson after the most defensive light-hitting fighter of all time, Slapsy Maxie Rosenblum. Slapsy Maxie had over 200, 300 fights, and he had 19 knockouts or something. He couldn't hit hard at all. I mean, literally, he couldn't crack an egg with a punch, but he was a perpetual motion machine. Cuss went, I want Dempsey's power, but I want Max's defense. And so that set him off. Like in the 20s and 30s, Customato was nicknamed Cautious Cuss because his fighters were too defensive. And he slowly honed a program of offensive defense, of defensive offense. That's what Bruce was looking for, right? Bruce was going,
exactly.
I maximize my offense without compromising my defense. So we wanted that natural unnaturalness. And so to me, that's what we're looking for, that Jeet concept of not having one sacrifice the other. And I thought, well, let me bring Tyson into it, because Dempsey's clearly is there, the infighting shovel hooks and so forth. But Jack had a tendency to be a little bit too easy to hit. And so I was trying to argue from a known to the unknown, because people were having a problem. When I have people come into the school, they're like, I don't know how to see this.
How do you train their minds?
But doing this, by trying to get them in there. I have a boxing program. I think everybody should box. Everybody should get punched in the face. It certainly helped my maturity. And it just teaches you that people aren't going to be standing still for you to do stuff. And I've got a BJJ program. You know, I don't teach BJJ because I suck at it. But my best move is tapping. I'm awesome at that. But seriously. But you know, you want those guys to get experiences. So you try to give them principles, and then you give them training of it, drills and so forth, and then you give them experiences. And I've got to be kind of like a father would be with my son and try to guide him through these experiences. I can't avoid, if I try to pull him out of life, he's not going to be ready for anything in life. I mean, my greatest memory of my son, it's a strange thing to say, he loves baseball. And he was in this big championship game, and it was a huge game. And he was the star. I mean, praise God, my son was hitting well. He was the middle of the order. He's the man, bases loaded. And the umpire, Dwight, calls him out on a called third strike that was in the other batter's box. I mean, the ball missed the plate. And even the catcher turned around and looked at the umpire. The catcher was like, "Are you kidding me?" And so he strikes out on that one. And then in the next inning, he's in the field and he flubs a pop-up. He's a kid, but he flubbed a pop-up. He should have caught it. And I'm watching him on the field. He knew his team was losing, and he knew it was the end of the season, and he knew it was kind of his fault. But I'm like, that's the moment that makes a man out of you. Where you deal with frustration, you did your best. You had your discipline. You did your best, and you failed anyway. But you got to walk off the field, you know, like a man, and go, I did my best, and I failed. Because sometimes I do my best, and I get punched in the face. You got to have that. You got to have that fearlessness, and you got to have that code to get through it. And so you're trying to do that with your students safely. You're trying not to abuse your students, right? Like never trust a school and a gym where everyone's under 40, because they've never lived long enough to see people get hurt bad.
I like that.
You know, and so I try to do that. I try to do my best, and I try to tell the student, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm always trying to get them to see where I'm trying to take them, and so that they become a partner, and there's a trust. And then don't try and be me. You're going to try to be you. Here are the principles, and then you go out and you express those principles to the best of your ability. And then I can't always tell you what you have to do, but I can tell you what not to do. Does that make sense? All
right. 2 more books. 3.
Man, I write a lot. I got to get a life.
Yeah, you should.
No, you got the fiction on there. Undefeated.
Yeah.
The Undefeated is a novel. The narrator is a love-struck 19-year-old. His name's Charlie. I love Charlie, man. And he's a narrator. The world is falling apart. The West is collapsing. I don't tell you what the collapse is. Obviously, there's a big economic disaster and civil strife in the cities. Charlie doesn't know it because he's 19 and he's a classic American. He's not paying any attention. He's in love with a girl. His brother happens to be, that's a photo of his brother. His brother is the world's greatest boxer, JKD guy. He's a closet JKD guy. Mm-hmm. And they're going off to have a fight at a centric billionaire as the economy's collapsing. His brother knows it and the billionaire knows it. Charlie's not paying attention. So as the story unravels of this no-holds-barred match that they're fighting for real money. I mean, gold and silver and land, because the economy's in the toilet. So the story is told about how America is losing itself because it doesn't know its past and it doesn't know that freedom requires discipline. Liberty requires that you make your decisions and you have to embrace risk. You can't demand results. And so Charlie is a white kid. His brother Abe is a black man.
Yeah, Jason, I don't read fiction, but I'm tempted to read. I'd love to see the movie.
Oh, that would be interesting.
I'd love to see. It sounds like a movie already.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, but I'm tempted to, and I never read fiction. I don't say that proudly, you know, because Dan Kennedy says that you should read fiction. Yeah. You know, but it's just not my thing. But I love how this sounds.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I love the book. It was I wrote it, and you know, I was just looking at the culture, and it's the same thing I'm trying to do as a teacher. I'm trying to show we got to be ready for the real world, and the relationship between the two brothers, Abe and Charlie. You know, Abe represents that man that his love was so great that he made himself a strong man. That's why I want to show real love isn't an emotion. It isn't instant sexual gratification. Real love compels you to be a good person. Real love propels you to become a builder up of others. And that's the story. He's holding in his hand, he's holding a doll that the book revolves around of when Charlie's a kid. They have a broken home. Mom was sleeping around, and Charlie never even knows who his father is. And that's why they have different fathers. And a huge tragedy revolves around that doll that's in Abe's hand. And that's the innocence of childhood and those dreams. And it takes strength to hold them. And that's the point. So the whole, like the first 2/3 of the book is kind of the setup. The last third is the big fight and the rundown. So, you know, bear with it if you want to get into it. But the last third is all the action. The first 2/3 is, you know, Charlie being Charlie. And people have told me that we've read it, and it was like, you know, I wanted to kill Charlie. I wanted to strangle him. He's such a wuss. And, but it becomes a strong man at the end, right? Because, you know, we have a tendency to think that art, and I think that's what Bruce is doing in his movies. He was talk about art and fighting and philosophy all in one thing. Yeah. And it was hard to follow. Like Ted Wong said to me one time that Bruce was talking half the time. I don't know what he was talking about. You know, he was deep stuff, and so I loved the you know, that book in particular. It's really funny you're asking about that. You really made my day, man.
And I'll tell you. So obviously I haven't read it yet. I thought it was a book about boxing.
But it is a boxer. It's a JKD boxer. He has to. That's what made him. So I smuggled JKD into the book.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, this one, I don't think this one is not fiction, right?
No, that's not fiction. Nonfiction. That's the one that's selling. That's what made me like. Apparently, I'm on Amazon. Amazon sends me stuff now, and I'm like, this is fantastic.
Oh yeah. So, how long ago did this one come out?
End of October-ish of 19.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and it just took off. I had no idea. I mean, I've been writing books before that. Nobody was buying my books.
Right.
My books. And I get like, you know, 10 sales, 15 sales. That thing, bang, and now I'm selling books.
Well, it took off because it says Wing Chun.
I think so.
Right?
I think so.
I think it took off because it says Wing Chun. To self. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Note to self.
I mean,
the JKD books lag behind Wing Chun big time.
Yeah. Isn't that ironic?
I know. Yeah.
I'm not.
I didn't know. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what's in this one that that nobody has written about and that nobody has read about
My
before?
unique selling point. It is.
Yes.
It is an apologetic. It's a reasoned defense for why Wing Chun is valid as a self-defense system, kind of over against what we're seeing today. Like somebody just commented on a video saying, one of my YouTube videos, and said, "Well, until I see Wing Chun working in the cage, it doesn't work." And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, that's like saying because my Glock 9mm doesn't work against a tank, that 9mm is no good.
Right.
But I'm not always fighting tanks, so my Tundra doesn't work in the lake, and I love my Tundra.
Okay.
Anyway, but it's a time and a place for it. So I wanted to show what the time and place was for Wing Chun, what it is and what it isn't.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of confusion on that. Wing Chun is a very good system, but it's got a specific adaptation that if you don't reason your way through it, you end up there like the Franken zombie, the Wing Chun zombie, like running forward like you're trying to put a fire out and running into punches. So I was trying to overcome those irrational observations and interpretations of Wing Chun to try to help students go, oh, okay, it's very simple, and this is when it's used, this is when it's not used. Like a bazooka is a fine weapon, but not for home defense.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Now I'm going to my notes, right? Because that stuff's just, when you and I get together, it just becomes this. It's just this rapid fire thing, right?
Hang on. Yes. Yeah.
Right. So now I'm going to try to slow down and go to my notes. So some of the people that are watching this, and some of the people who will watch it, are not familiar with you. So here's how I worded the question. Can you tell us the steps that you took to acquire general martial arts knowledge? That's part one. Okay, so tell us the steps that you took. Obviously, you know what part two is going to be, right? But what are the steps you took to acquire general martial arts knowledge?
Can you define martial arts for me? Quality of a man's definitions determine the quality of his life. No, I'll take that. I grew up in a mentally ill Marine family where we were boxing and wrestling from the get-go. Okay. I was around and was fascinated by fighting from the time I was a kid, and so I was around boxing all the time, and so I see the world in conflict. Right? How do you resolve conflict? How do you avoid conflict? How do you see conflict coming? How do I get ahead of it? My mom said to me one day, I came home from school, and there was this kind of a couple of kids, and I was mad. I was really mad, Dwight. I threw my stuff down, and my mother, very sympathetic woman, very empathetic, said, "What's your problem?" And I said,
I like her already.
So I said, "Those stupid kids." And she listens to me, and she nods, and she goes, this is the third time this has happened. And I went, yeah. And she said, if they're so stupid and you're so smart, how come you can't get ahead of the circumstances? Maybe you're not as smart as you think you are. Thanks, Mom. So I think that's what helped make me a martial artist. Literally, I'm going to say, my mom, my dad, my brothers taught me how to think about violence. That it was a mental game. You can't just, I had to fight one of these kids, and he was, I was so mad. I lost the fight, dude. 12 years old, I'm in front of my house, and I had it up to here with this kid. His name was Chris. He was a jerk. He was taller than me, right? My patent thing was 1-2. Bang, bang. Well, he was taller than me, and I had it. I said, yo, you want to fight? And so he was like, yeah, fine. And so he knew I was going to throw 1-2, so I went up because he was taller. I was leaning up, and he shot underneath me. And I never thought this kid was going to go for a shoot. Then we scrambled. He's too strong. Got a hold of me. He's too strong. He's stupid strong. He was really dumb, but he had less strength. And I don't know if he was dumb. But anyway, he ends up winning, and he gets on top of me. He gets kind of a top mount position. I mean, we didn't call it that in 1981, 82.
Right.
But he got my head against the pavement, and he goes, yeah, you give? And I went, yeah. And so he lets me up. I tell you if I beats my head and everybody films it. But I thought, lost my emotions. I got to think. I underestimated my opponent because I thought my opponent can't adapt, and he wouldn't adapt. And there's a difference between thinking you're good and thinking everyone else is stupid. And I need to never cross that line again. And
so you were thinking that way at 12?
I don't know.
So, that's interesting. You know, seriously, because let me see if I can find it in my notes. I have a question in my notes that says something like, did JKD have a profound effect on you, or were you always like this? That's what it says. Did JKD have a profound
awesome question. I loved Bruce Lee's stuff the minute I started reading it because it resonated with what I already knew from my experience. You got to keep things simple. You've got to have simple techniques that are adaptable. You don't have adaptable techniques. You have simple techniques that allow you to adapt tactically. Because if you have a complex set of technique, you've got a bunch of crap that doesn't work.
Okay.
You know, under pressure, bang, 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 and you got to be able to adapt. So I started reading Bruce when I was 14, and I went, yeah, that's gonna work. And so, yeah, I don't mean to diminish the impact that Lee's Jeet Kune Do philosophy had, but I was kind of thinking that way. I mean, from the time I was a kid, when I was in third grade, true story, third grade. A friend of mine in third grade got beaten up by this bully in class, and this kid was failed. And I think he was like 21 years old. He was still in third grade. He was a colossal bully. Okay, so I mean, he was probably shaving and driving, right? So I was so incensed. You know, I was so. I go over there and with all this indignation, this hot indignation that an 8-year-old boy can have, and I walk up to his house, bang at his door. He comes to the door eating a sandwich. What? He says eloquently, and I go, "You want to fight? Pick on somebody your own size." And he goes, "Where is he?" That should have been a clue to me. Should have been a clue to me. And so I walk down the steps and I stand in his yard and I come out and fight me like a man, said the 8-year-old Ron. And so okay, he doesn't even put his sandwich down. He walks out the door. I can still hear that screen door flapping closed. He walks down the steps and I'm standing there with my hands up. And the next thing I know, the ground came up and hit me in the back. Boom! And he just belted me. I never saw the punch coming. I'm thinking, how can an idiot be that big and quick too? Yeah. And I'm laying there and then the pain hits me. And I thought, oh my goodness, that sucks. Pain sucks. I never got hit in the head that hard. So I ran home and I told my father, my Marine dad, I said, "Dad, I'm crying. You got to go shoot him." and he goes, "What? Who hit you?" I said, "He's big. He's real big." And I'm like, he goes, "Oh, my dad's tall." "Oh, okay. Wait. What happened? Why was there a fight?" I said, "That doesn't matter." And my dad goes, "Of course it matters, dummy." And so I told him what happened. He goes, so he's rubbing his temples. And he gets down on his hands, he gets down on his knees, and he looks at me square in the eye, and he goes, "Son, you picked a fight, and you lost. You can't complain about it." And I went, I really got to. So then he gave me the best piece of advice I ever had. He said, "You either better learn to shut up or learn how to fight."
Right. Right. Yeah.
So I've been learning how to fight ever since. Because it's a lot easier for me than shutting up.
Okay. So, so did you go study somewhere, or was the boxing and the wrestling stuff just natural?
Yeah, I was boxing, and then so I started boxing, and my dad pointed me to a couple boxing trainers in like the Schenectady, New York area. Okay. And you know, and I took some kung fu, and my brother came home from college. My brother's 11 years older. So I was 10, 11. He was already in college, and he came home one day, and for Christmas break, and we're boxing with each other. We're slap boxing. He just comes and puts his back down. "Come on, Jay!" And so I'm trying to hit him, and then he starts beating the crap out of me and throwing me on the bed. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He kept like moving my hands around, and he was taking Wing Chun in New York in school with Alan Lee, and I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. And so that was so he became my de facto first Wing Chun instructor when I was 11.
Oh, okay.
He didn't teach me the forms. He just taught me Shisao, and it was just fight all the time. That's what it was, just fight all the time. Right. And he didn't teach me the forms because he wanted to reinforce for me, seriously, how important the fundamentals were. So when I found out there was a form, I was like, "You didn't tell me. You're slapping the crap out of me for 3 years." Yeah.
I'm trying to remember something that I heard yesterday because how did it was a video. Oh, now I remember. So let's see, Johnny Williams over at Everything is Gung Fu on Facebook put up the clip of Simon Lau in the 1982 Way of the Warrior documentary. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah. So he put up the clip of Simon Lau's Wing Chun. And so we were talking about that. And then you know how YouTube will play something similar when a video finishes. And it was, I want to say it was a guy named James Sinclair out of England. And he was talking about Wing Chun as well. And he was talking about Chi Sao. And now I can't remember exactly what it was that he said about Wing Chun. So I'm going to ask you, what is the role of Chi Sao in Wing Chun? Because it seems to be disputed.
That's an understatement, dude.
You like that?
You could go into politics, man. Seems to be disputed.
Yes.
Yeah. That was like after the firebombing of Dresden. Seems to be some rubble here. All right. Chi Sao, as I define it, as we define it here, I'm not going to speak for everybody, is that it is helping the student learn how to use both hands interdependently without making major mistakes on the side, to learn how to reflexively go towards the softest targets of the throat, the windpipe, the throat, the jaw, the eyes, learn how to control that area and attack it. Like if I go like this and go for eye gouges,
right?
So I've got to have a structure. An eye for an eye is a terrible fight plan, right? And so that's what Chi Sao would be for me, is a drill to help you get over your natural inclinations of reaching around, of blading off on the inside was a bad idea.
Okay.
And you have to train. Everybody says throat punch. Well, actually train that actual technique safely. So it's an attempt inside the Wing Chun system to try to attack and defend those areas without killing one another.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you could get into all the other stuff, but I think that becomes a bit,
So it's not Wing Chun sparring.
No.
Okay. So then you have so then you got to inform the crowd. What is Wing Chun sparring?
Boxing, MMA, Muay Thai.
I see.
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
I mean, why would if I'm out there, what you train against is as important as what you train with.
Okay.
If I'm out here and I'm defending against straight punches and straight kicks all the time, and I don't have any line familiarization of people throwing overhands, and then the first time I ever see it is under real pressure, I have a problem.
Right.
And so that's why we have a boxing program, a BJJ program, and so forth. I mean, some guys come in and like maybe they've had a lot of street fights or whatever, but the vast majority of Westerners haven't been in a lot of fights. I mean, it's like an international UN incident if little Johnny punches a bully in the nose in the cafeteria. I mean, we live in La La Land here, right? We want everybody to be nice. And so we've got to take people and get them prepared. And I think real sparring helps you, as long as, again, it's going to be tough, but it should be safe. It shouldn't be destructive. It should be safe. So I think that's boxing. I don't know, Wing Chun people gripe and moan at me. I've seen it in my videos. That's boxing, dude. That ain't Wing Chun. Wing Chun got to look like Ip Man down at the end of the movie.
Yeah. So a buddy of mine from upstate Florida sent me an email, and very few people do this. So so shout out to Joseph Powell. But he wanted me to ask you, because he says obviously you're into the Jeet Kune Do, the Wing Chun, and the boxing. So he wanted me to ask you about old school European and Western boxing's influence on Wing Chun.
Oh, that's a great question. Yes. That's my answer. Yes.
That's your
I
answer.
think, hey, I have a peculiar theory, and there is a very well-known Wing Chun man who agrees with me, but he doesn't want to go on the record, so I can't drop his name.
Okay.
But I think when you look at the time and age where Wing Chun came out of,
right,
I think it's very likely that the Wing Chun guys were looking at the British boxers and simply went, that really works. I mean, look at Savant guys. They ran into English boxers. Everybody changed their structure and started punching more when they ran into boxers, and it just worked. And, you know, I'm not saying that's the only thing that works, but it's clearly efficacious for self-defense. I mean, any universe where people throw punches at you in your face, boxing works. So I think that's what the Wing Chun people did. And if you look at Wing Chun, it looks very much like old school boxing. And so I think, despite the protestations to the contrary from the traditionalists that want to hyper traditionalize Wing Chun, I think the most likely answer for Wing Chun is that it grew out of their interaction with the British Navy naval boxers.
Okay, and I was having breakfast with Bill Matucci today, and
you get around.
Yeah.
I did nothing. I've been here.
and he pointed out that Wang Shenglong was a boxer,
and not a good one.
Okay, well that I don't know.
He had not trained professionally or with a real gym. He trained himself by watching. And he was still good enough just doing that to wipe out half of Ip Man's school. Well, I mean, of course, his better fighters were out that day, but he's even self-taught. He's self-taught.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there was another story that says that he knocked his coach down or whatever, but then one of his top students said that he didn't have a coach. He was self-trained. So I'm going to go with that because he's the most reputable source. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I don't have first-hand information, but that seems to be the likely scenario, especially when someone comes out and they've got that first-hand information. One of Wong's top students said that he was self-taught.
Okay,
but he got a boxing background, and that changed the way he thought about.
Right. Have you ever seen? I just saw it earlier today on Facebook. Video of Cus D'Amato and Ali messing around, and Cus actually clips him.
Yes, he hits him in the lip. That's awesome. The thing about that video, you know what video that's from? AKA Cassius Clay. They did that. Cus D'Amato, Jim Jacobs. Jim Jacobs was the money. He and Bill Caton were the money behind Mike Tyson. Okay. They bankrolled Cus D'Amato, and so when Ali was in his exile in the late '60s, early '70s, because of his stance against the Vietnam War, he was broke, and so they wanted to do that movie to help him out. Well, Cus didn't think Ali was that good. And so he's like, Joe Louis beats you. So they're watching films, and I wish I could do an Ali voice. I so wish I could do an Ali voice, but I can't do it. But Ali, I can do Bill Clinton, but I can't do Ali. Anyway, so he's like, Joe Louis would have beat him, would have knocked him out. And Muhammad's like, what? Slow, shuffling, flat-footed, no, Joe Louis beat me. And so Cus was like, yeah, man. And so they actually got up and started doing that. And he's like, so how would you hit me? Ali's like, how would you hit me, old man? How would you get me? And moving around. And that's it. It's so funny. I mean, Ali and Cus D'Amato, that's fantastic.
Okay. All right. So here's another question from Joe Powell. Does the Wing Chun trapping flow a lot easier and better with the old school boxing?
Amen. I don't know if I know this guy, but I like him. Yeah. It should be, don't think of trapping. Think of holding and hitting. When I was boxing, a little dude in the bow tie would walk out before every fight, right? And he'd meet me and he'd meet my opponent, and he'd say, obey my commands at all times. And then he would say, no holding and hitting. And that's trapping. Don't think of you've got to be. It's an artificial way of training things. It's like a speed bag.
Right.
Trapping as a drill, a mechanical drill, is fine, but we have to break free from this notion that you got your head up and your chin's up and you're engaging in fighting. Nobody gets up in combat. You get down. Right. Nobody gets up. Nobody's ever said, no, let's go and fire. Everybody get up. Nobody does that. Fire. Everybody up. No, get down. And so when you come in, you're holding and hitting. So absolutely.
Okay. So another one of my Facebook calls, I think I didn't write this down, but I think it's Brooks Long. And he was talking about the idea of a blend of peekaboo boxing and Wing Chun.
Yeah.
Right?
That was the point of, and I'm not sure if Cus D'Amato was trying to make the perfect fighter that was incredibly aggressive and hard to hit. Yeah. But every person has to blend that to their particular attributes, right? if you're like, I've got people that are just temperamentally, they like to stay back. I've got people temperamentally. I've just one guy in my boxing thing. The dude's like he's a little Tyson.
Yeah.
And he's Canadian, and that's really weird because Canadians are generally always apologizing, and that dude will kill you. But anyway, so he, if he's always moving and he's always back, but he doesn't have the temperament to wait. He's always going forward. He always wants to get in and mix it up. So
right.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. That's what I think Wing Chun causes itself so much trouble, because it's insisting on people staying upright when that's a structure and a form to develop qualities of muscle knowledge, of not making big mistakes. And then people go, well, that's the way I got to fight, boss.
Right.
That'd be like being in a gunfight. I'm like, I put the gun in front of me on the table, and I get ready, and I present it. No, I did that when I first shooting experience, and my dad was like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm shooting. And he's like, what's the goal of a gunfight, son? And he's a Marine, so I'm like, kill the man. And my dad's like, no, what the hell's the matter with you? You psycho? You're a civilian. You're trying to defend yourself. You're just trying to stop the bad guy from doing the nefarious thing the bad guy's doing. You happen to be using a lethal weapon, but your goal is just to try to stop him. Your goal is to not get shot, stupid. So you need to be behind cover or be moving. Yeah. Never go like that.
Yeah.
That teaches you to shoot. But, you watch, I think one of the greatest martial art movies of all time, John Wick. I mean, look at the motion. He's always in motion. And so what I love about the Tyson, what your question was, that Tyson-esque Wing Chun, it encompasses and envelops great defensive cover with great defensive cover with offense. So fantastic. And I love it. Yeah, go and experiment with it. See what works for you.
So I got to ask you this. Your mom and your dad sound like some really smart individuals. Where did they go wrong with you?
I don't know. My father kept saying I was adopted or something like that.
All right. Okay. So
I tried.
What?
By the way, I found his yearbook. He hit me with that joke so many times. So many times. I found his yearbook from high school, and I'm like, look, you look just like me. Get out of my face.
So what is your take then? Because I want to ask you, I want to get your take on a couple of, let's call them JKD issues, right? What is your take on what was Bruce Lee teaching as modified Wing Chun?
Jun Fan Gung Fu. Which
meaning what?
Meaning it was modified Wing Chun. It was Bruce Lee dressing up Wing Chun with all of Bruce Lee's charisma. But it was just modified Wing Chun. Bruce Lee was never qualified to teach Wing Chun. So listen, I'm not bashing Jun Fan Gung Fu, but my point is, and I put this out pure and simple. If you're gonna learn the modification of half of the system, go learn the system. Bruce couldn't do that back in 1956, 57. I mean, you couldn't do it. Yeah. So I think that that predecessor, what Bruce's Wing Chun, he's got valid interpretations of it. Definitely check him out. But as a field of study, I have a very I find it underwhelming. It's just structurally unsound. Yeah. And then Bruce realized that he wasn't working with the full kit. It was like he drove off the assembly line. He didn't have the full car together.
Okay, so
I'm gonna take hate mail for that.
Yeah, well, so would it behoove? Right, yeah, you gotta keep your right. Would it behoove JKD people to study Wing Chun?
If they want.
Right.
I don't know if they have to study. I don't think they have to personally study it. Mm-hmm. I think, like for my instructors, I would say I want you to understand it. Because I do think it gives you a core idea, and it keeps you from going off the reservation. Because I think Wing Chun forms are the structural foundations of applications that are only limited by your need and your imagination. Wing Chun doesn't really have a tactical setup. It gives you structural foundations. What are you going to do with it from there? So I can teach somebody JKD what I haven't teach them Wing Chun, but I think it's really helpful for them to understand how a martial art is a comprehensive set. Because if there's a weakness of JKD, it's that it can sometimes be too simplistic, and we're going to be careful. Right? Okay. That's the deal with hard pragmatism. Pragmatism is a test of truth is fun. Pragmatism is a theory of truth is not so fun.
Okay, let's backtrack again. So we got an answer to the steps that you took for martial arts in general. Now, in particular, the steps that you took for JKD and Wing Chun.
Do you want me to name names?
I want. It's up to you.
So it's good viewing. I started. My brother taught me the Alan Lee Wing Chun system, so I got an Alan Lee Wing Chun system secondhand. So the Wing Chun people in the Alan Lee system can say, "You didn't learn it right." Okay. And then I had a private Wing Chun instructor from Hawkins Chung Line,
okay.
who unfortunately, that was a contentious little breakup there. Mm-hmm. And then, so I was doing that until 91. So I trained with my brother from 81 to about 85. And then I did the private Wing Chun from 87 to 91.
Okay.
And then JKD, I actually started, I don't have a book around here. I started training on my own. As you asked me earlier, I found Bruce Lee's writings, like, this is awesome. So I started doing the fighting methods books, in my basement. I started training the footwork and a whole bit, and the parries, from 85, because I was like 15. So I did that on my own until like 87, 88. I started training with that ridiculously fast headbutt machine named Paul Vunak.
Okay.
And then I started going to train with the Paul Vunak circus. And and I was with the circus. I was with the circus till about 91. And then
I love them all.
So God bless them. And,
yeah.
And then there was, and so then I was, so I was with that group, and with all of those guys, and had so many very good experiences and great instruction, brilliant people, and then was going to work with an organization with Ted Wong that he had set up, and I knew Ted Wong had trained with Bruce personally, so I was looking for his interpretation.
Right.
Because of the political pressure, he dropped out, and the guy that was with him was Lamar Davis, so I was with Lamar Davis, like 91, 92, 93, 94, 95. One of my best friends, Jonathan Parsons, then started training personally with Ted Wong. And then, I was dead broke, man. I was working for I don't know. I was trying to build a school, and I was hemorrhaging money. I didn't know I didn't have Danny Dan Kennedy then.
Right.
So see how this one works. So I was trying stuff, and it was just losing money. And so I had a 60-hour-a-week job just to pay for my martial art losses. And so Jonathan calls me, and he brought me out to train with Ted Wong because Ted Wong was at his house for private training, like 8 hours a day. Mm-hmm. And Dwight, I got to say, shout out to Jonathan and Sifu Wong. Sifu Wong not only didn't charge me, he actually paid for my lunch. The whole time we got to eat, and he was just giving me information, and he was so gracious and so forth. And so I was with him for 95, 96, 97, a little bit of 98. And then, there was just, unfortunately, I'm sure everyone listening knows there's so many politics involved, so much politics involved. And so then I was like, you know what? I need to be able to run a school. I need to be able to, I was pushing 30 years old at that point when this Ponzi scheme, this pyramid scheme that people have with this JKD setup is not working. I'm out. And so I was kind of had some I'm not going to say it was acrimonious, but I was a bit pugnacious. And so I was like, I want to go do my own thing. People leave me alone. And so, then I kind of touched base back and forth with, I've been friends with Lamar Davis for years, of course, with Sifu Wong, Ted Wong, for years. And, but it was basically at that point, the 97, 98, I was just teaching here and building a school.
Okay.
That was my autobiography.
Right. Okay. No, because they some of them, they can't help it, right? Everybody has to, it's like they have to question everybody's things. Like, well, I don't know this guy. So instead of just sitting back and listening, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, well, who's he? And, why is he able to, it's just.
I know I do that.
But I have a colleague here in Miami who has started his own podcast, and he has told me. So I've been on his podcast twice already. I might be the only person who has been on there twice, right? And people are already upset. Yeah,
why?
Exactly.
Because you're getting attention,
right?
Yeah.
So
that's the thing about a win-win scenario. Dan Kennedy talked about. Create a win-win scenario. Is that if somebody comes in, and again, if they want MMA, if they want, and that's not my bag, and I start saying, okay, I try to get him to sign up for my classes anyway. So I'm gonna win, he's gonna lose, right? Or if he comes in and I give him what he wants, but I don't charge enough, it's a win-lose, and then eventually he loses too. And
Yes.
so I'm always trying to create win-win scenarios.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, now I'm affiliated with Tony Massengill and his Wing Chun guys. And, you know, I met him in 2010. And I think he's one of the best JKD guys I've ever known, the way his mind works.
Right.
Even though he's a Wing Chun man, and he's not a big Bruce Lee fan. But anyway.
Now this is another area. This is another area because Alex Richter was on a few weeks ago. You know him,
Kung
right?
Fu dudes. Yeah. Right,
yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Great man.
And there are going to be people who are going to be upset because it's like, well, it's called the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues, Dwight. Why are you talking to a guy from City Wing Chun?
Because he's interesting.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, and so I got myself in trouble because of that, right? And I'm sure somebody somewhere along the way is going to be like, well, I don't know, you know, I think Dwight and Jason talked a little bit more about Wing Chun and boxing than they talked about Jeet Kune Do, you know, so I don't know if this was a good episode or whatever, right? Whatever. It's like, why can't people just get together and talk, goddammit?
Amen.
You know,
Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah. So, okay. So now, all right. Your take on actually, yeah, get ready for this one.
The Blade.
Yes. Tell everybody what that one is about.
That one is about taking the people say, oh, it's Bruce didn't do any weapons. And then Ted Wong, that's what I said to Ted Wong one day. And we were waiting around for everybody after we were training to come. We got the dinner early. So we're standing out in the parking lot, and I happened to say, well, Bruce never did any weapons, and that's why you do Kali. And I was training Kali, you know, because I was doing, you know, all that stuff that everyone else in JKD does. He goes,
right.
So Ted Wong goes, that's actually not true. We talked about the fencing principles and the interception principle with the snap cut. And, you know, using a blade, thumb reinforced grip, bang. And it's a great way to cut. And you use your footwork because that blade is just too small to use for defense. So you have to use range, and you have to use your footwork. And you're trying to intercept and cut. And so, you know, so we got some six who were out there in the parking lot doing that. And it was hilarious. And, you know, I'm surprised all the bad jokes I make and all the much I was talking. I thought retrospectively that he may have been thinking of stabbing me to death there, but probably couldn't think of how to get rid of the body before everybody showed up. But anyway, that's how that came about. And so over the years, I've been teaching out to our group and fleshed out a few of the details in terms of the escapes from holds. That if somebody did grab it, like a lot of women, especially, what happens if somebody gets that blade? And so it really is a blade system in and of itself based on, if you've done JKD, you know, lead hand, lead foot, footwork, body measure, whatever, that will flow almost seamlessly into your weaponry. You won't have to change your set into a more angular knife method, which is closer range.
Right.
The idea with that is to keep it as far away from you as possible. Well,
be careful because, you know, somebody's going to go, oh, well, now that's Jeet Kune Do concepts.
Find a fine line. Yes.
Right. So, okay, your take on JKD's stages of cultivation. I just did a broadcast episode about that, and what fascinated me is that you do enough reading, and there's so many variations on it. It's called stages of cultivation. It's called stages of a technique. It's called stages of development. It's called stages of it's all this stuff. Do you have a take on that?
I have a take on everything in life. No, seriously. No, I do. I try to keep it as simple as possible, as always, is to go, all right, so you have this unconscious incompetence, right? When somebody comes in, they don't know how bad they are, right? You know, and that's when you first find out that you don't know what you're talking about, that you don't know what you're doing. And so you're unconsciously incompetent. And then,
hang on a second. You mean, because my experience, if somebody comes into my school, I think they come in conscious of their incompetence.
They're coming conscious of the vacuum, but that's all they know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then so then they find out, oh, jab come up. Oh, wow. Okay, that's what I mean in terms of being able to isolate and identify.
Okay.
And then you're going to go into showing them the mechanics and the theory. And so you take the two aspects, mechanics and theory. And obviously, theory needs to guide mechanics. I'm a stickler for making sure people know what the puzzle is supposed to look like. Mm-hmm. But they need constant reps, and they need to have the observations, and they need to have the right drills to get the right mechanics that are fluid and that are again, adjustable, very direct technique that's adaptable into the tactical structure. And you do it over and over and over and over. It becomes automated. Once they have to think about it to do it wrong, then they got it. And the thought's no longer on me. And I think it's something with guitar. If you take a musician and they're learning a song, but they can't learn the song until they learn the instrument. They learn the instrument and they're obsessed about the instrument. Then they go, how do I play the song? Eventually, it's just the instrument and them, it just disappears. It's just one thing. And the same thing with the strike. That's what Bruce, I think, would be talking about, not cultivation.
All right.
Simple.
Whoa. Yeah. No, when you talked about the puzzle, right? The ADHD kicked in, and we talked about John Wayne's method of shooting and what have you. Have you seen Ben Affleck's The Accountant?
Oh, I love that. Yes. That's one of the great movies. Nobody talks about it.
Isn't it great?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. I watched that. I watched that the other day, and I was like, you know,
and that's like, I love the story. The guy embraces his weaknesses and makes them into strengths.
Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah. 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 And when the scene in his kitchen with the one plate and the one, right? Yeah. I saw that and I thought, that is too close to home.
Isn't it?
I was like, I am so glad I'm not watching this movie in anyone's company. I'm watching it by myself. It was too close.
Really?
To home. Yes.
Does everybody out there know what we're talking about? Yes.
Right. Okay. So I got to make sure that. Joe Powell had another question for you. Because of Mayweather's old school boxing style, today's boxers are not able to get a blueprint on his style to defeat him. Is there something to that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, everybody, he's a sharp guy. I think he fights more at the fighting measure. He fights back at the range. And a lot of guys today, they walk in the pocket and they start working. And Mayweather stayed back more, and he kept his stance a little wider, more like the old school guys. His stance was wider, because the old school, you had to move your hands. You can't do this because somebody's punch you in the hands, break your hands, and then you break your face. So they had to fight a lot differently, more at a little bit different of a range, because it was harder to scuffle. Right? You take scuffle, bare knuckle catches you, you're in big trouble. Gloves
right.
Different. So yeah, and I don't think they don't see it. They don't see it. So therefore, as I said earlier, if the first time you see something is under the pressure, you're behind the 8 ball.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do a funny one, right? So
I turn a funny one.
I think unlike the morons, and because so let's go back to the 30-30 thing, right? When I saw the interview with the director, they asked him, what if Bruce Lee had lived? What could you see him doing? And the moron talks about he could see Bruce Lee 2020 as in a presidential run. Right? And that's when I knew
that's constitutionally, right.
Yeah, this documentary is going to suck the big one, right? But okay, so this is the one I want to do with you. What do you think? Had Bruce Lee lived, give me some ideas. You're a fiction writer. Give me some ideas on what you think.
What would Bruce Lee be doing?
Right. Yes. Give me some ideas.
Oh, that's a tough one. I really could care less. That's just. I don't spend my time worrying about what Bruce Lee ate for breakfast, and I've met some guys just like, that's not the way Bruce Lee held his pinky. And I'm like, I don't care. I mean, you don't see that in boxing. If I had a guy come into my school, and I'm teaching him boxing first day, teach him basic, work the jab, step, right, pop, 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 pop. And if I told him, I want you to bounce up and down, put your hands down, I want you to pull back from punches, I don't want you to throw any body punches, and I want you to talk to your opponent, call them names. Yeah, see? You're like, that's malpractice. You're going to get that boy knocked out. And like, that just described Muhammad Ali's style to you. Not just a good boxer, but Muhammad Ali. Emerson had that line that study of Shakespeare never made a Shakespeare. And I would like to say that the worst thing that we do in Jeet Kune Do is we obsess about Bruce Lee. And so therefore we don't see the principle, and the principle doesn't become alive. You asked a great question of how do I help the student with a vision that see these things, and I try to not let them fixate on Bruce or me or anything else. See the principle and see you, and go do it. So I see Bruce was such a creative guy. I think his endeavors and his artistry and trying to bring beauty to the violence that he was shooting. There's no Matrix. There's not cool scene of Neo, with the bullets. There's none of that without Bruce and the Chinese Connection and all that. I mean, he really set a standard for that. So that's one thing I think we'd be doing. Other outside of that,
I think that that we don't talk enough about the mind of Bruce Lee. As a matter of fact, you know what?
Right.
That should be the name.
Yeah. Right.
That should be the name of the documentary.
Yes. The mind of Bruce Lee. Because everybody talks about in the gym, don't skip leg day. Don't skip leg day. And I'm like, don't skip mind day. That's what we do in Jeet Kune Do. We don't focus on the mind, the ideas of it. I mean, I skip leg day a lot. When I go running in shorts, I can't go running in rural areas because farmers think a chicken got out. And I'm running away from a crazy farmer. So don't skip leg day, but don't skip mind day either. The mind of Bruce, he was brilliant.
Because in one of Inasano's books, it says something about, that Bruce Lee had this image of being like a hipster and what have you, but that if you looked on his daily schedule, there was a section for mental cultivation, and I really honestly think that if more people delved into the mind of BruceLee, they would stop asking the stupid questions.
You're catapulting up my favorite person's list. Yes.
Right.
You're right behind Scarlett Johansson now, Dwight.
So, listen. So we touched on this. I'm going to make this the last one. Right? Do you know? I can't remember his name, but it's I think the guy is. I think he's Iranian, and he has a podcast called Valuetainment. Do you know who that guy is?
Iranian?
Yeah.
He's not in Iran, is he?
No. He's out in California. His website is called Valuetainment, and he likes to ask his interviewee stuff like this. So I'm gonna paraphrase him. So, who was Jason Korol in high school? If you and I were friends hanging out in high school, who am I hanging out with?
That's a question I didn't expect you to ask. Dwight. JKD, man, never be predictable. That's classic. Who was I in high school? You know what? Here we go. Ready? I give a good answer. So everybody listening out there in Facebook land, I was having the same conversations in high school that I'm having now.
Right.
Literally, I was that guy. I went to my guidance counselor. I sit down in my guidance counselor's office, and he goes, "Okay, so what are you gonna do?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna study, philosophy and martial arts and Jeet Kune Do." And there you go. And he goes, "Yeah, but what's your plan?" That's my plan. I just told you that's my plan. And he goes, "Yeah, but you have to have a workable plan." I said, "Yeah, that's a workable plan." He didn't see that as being something to do.
Right.
He didn't appreciate it, and so he's trying to talk me out of this love affair I have with the ideas of my life. Literally, he's my guidance counselor, and he's trying to guide a 17-year-old kid who's in his office. He's trying to guide him out of this passion. And now we might say, well, listen, you want to be Michael Jordan and you can't jump. All right, that wasn't the case though. So I said to him, so what's the purpose of life? And he goes, pardon? And I said, well, what's the purpose of life? He goes, well, I said, well, but, the sign on your door says guidance counselor. Well, you're supposed to guide me, and if you don't even know what the purpose of it is for, right? And he looks at me with his, I'm telling him I'm trying to be contrarian. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I'm really asking the question. The truth is the most important thing. If you don't know the truth, admit it. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing terrible with you going, I don't know. And that's what we've lost in this culture, because what you said, we don't cultivate the mind. Mm-hmm. And the worst thing that you have, and we have it all over America today, of nobody wants to admit, I have no idea, right? And they can't articulate their opposition's viewpoint. Yeah. So when I was in high school, this is what I wanted to know. This is what I wanted to do. I've grown in my cultivation of those things, thank God. But and hopefully I'm able to articulate these points in a non-contradictory fashion. I probably think I was ADD now. I mean, but. And there was a lot of milkman jokes, because my dad always made a lot of milkman jokes that mom had an affair with a milkman. And so I kind of took that and ran with it. Right. And that's really, I mean, what's so funny is I'm sitting there reading novels when I was a kid, right? And my dad would be like, he'd come in the room and I'm reading a book, and he's like looking at me, sitting there, and he's like, he was all interested in fiction. And I guess to my dad, I listened to what he called girly music.
Like what?
I like Fleetwood Mac. I like Journey. Like he didn't think they were tough music. My dad. Right. So he thought it was, especially, I mean, he heard Open Arms by Journey, and I'm listening to that, and he's like, and so my dad literally said to me that if I couldn't box, he's like, good thing you can box. You'd totally be, and I'm not going to use the word here. So he said to me. So, and when I told him I had a girlfriend, he was like, huh. Yeah. Seriously? Yeah.
Thank God,
that was me in high school.
What is he talking about? That Steve, whatever his name, guy from Journey, he can sing.
Yes.
That guy's got a voice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you lost me on the Fleetwood Mac stuff. That, but
dude, Dwight, Stevie Nicks. I had such a crush on Stevie Nicks.
Really?
In my mind, I just, she's still, I mean, sure, she was probably in a days of cocaine at the time, but that was just a beautiful woman. She's a beautiful woman. And my dream was to get so good at Jeet Kune Do. This is my adolescent dream. So good at Jeet Kune Do that Stevie Nicks or maybe Susanna Hoffs of the Bengals would see me and go, that is a sexy man. And so I was pretty deep in high school.
Do you play music in your school?
Mm-hmm.
Do you play music during class in your school?
Yes, but the youngins take over they won't let me play my stuff.
So you got to put your foot down, man.
I know, but
here's what I do. I go, okay, pick a year. They'll go, what? I go, pick a year. They'll go 84. I got the playlist.
I can do that.
My favorites from 1984.
All right, hit me. 84. What? Give me.
Geez, I don't have the.
Interviewing you.
No, you want to hear this? Yeah. Okay. Give me a second. Let me go find the MP3 player.
Oh, I'll entertain folks with dancing. While Dwight is off the air, it is now not the Jeet Kune Do stuff. It's now the Jason show. It's the Jason show. Don't talk to yourself while you're looking for it. You're interrupting the host. This is now the Jason show. And all right, there goes the Jason show.
All right. Well, I hope I can pull it up.
I tried to hijack your show, man.
Let me see if I can pull it up here. 1984.
Come on.
Okay.
I know. I can tell you songs off the top of my head from 84.
Okay, go.
Ready? Yeah. Okay. All right, ready? Everybody, Culture Club had Karma Chameleon. Billy's Idol, Eyes Without a Face, Rebel Yell. Missing You, John Waite. Huey Lewis's Heart and Soul was out. If This Is It. Madonna had a bunch of crap out that year. Borderline and all that's Lucky Star. I have a good memory, dude. I have a good memory. 84. Okay, Twisted Sister. We're not gonna. Van Halen comes out in 1984. All Wait, Jump.
We're gonna get crucified in the comments on where's the Jeet Kune, right? Okay, so you want to hear this?
Yeah.
Centipede, You have no idea. This is by a girl named Rebby Jackson. This is Michael Jackson's big sister.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Right.
Michael Jackson kind of had an album out around that time.
Okay. Let the Music Play by Shannon.
Chaka Khan. Let the Music Play,
No,
right? Yeah.
No.
Shannon. Shannon. That's not Chaka. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
Kool and the Gang, Fresh. Right. Hall and Oates, Method of Modern Love.
And they had Out of Touch and Method of Modern Love.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Jermaine Jackson, one of Michael's big brothers.
We don't have to take our clothes off.
No, that's not him.
No, it was. Didn't he have
No, that's not Jermaine Jackson.
Oh.
That's not Jermaine Jackson.
All right.
That guy, I can't even remember who that guy. That guy was a one-hit wonder. No, Jermaine Jackson, Tell Me I'm Not Dreaming.
Oh, I guess that should be my theme song. Yes.
Okay. Jungle Love.
Oh, Jungle Love. That was Morris, dude, from Purple Rain.
Right. Yes, The Time. Yes,
The Time. That's it.
Okay, this one you'll know. Easy Lover. It was a duet.
Phil Collins and Philip Bailey from Earth, Wind and
Fire.
Fire. Yeah.
Whoa. You just went up in my estimation.
Yes. I'm gonna get my own music. Intercepting 80s, dude.
So this is what I force my people to listen to during class.
You're a good man. Because that's why everybody's so angry. That's why everybody's so angry. The music sucks today. That's what's going on.
Right?
Politics, it's all music.
Yeah, right. Anyhow, all right. So listen. Okay, so on that note, right?
On that note, that's a good one.
On that note,
I got it. I'm rubbing off on you, man.
Okay, let's do one more.
I'm good. My wife doesn't want me to come home. You keep me as long as you want.
Oh, okay. Right. And I got this one from the guy at Valuetainment also. How do you think people see you versus how you really are?
They don't think nearly as high of me as they should. I mean, really. That's my answer to that one. No, I don't know. I mean, you know what? I hear people say things to me sometimes about what the school means to them and whatever, and it like makes me cry. I'm like,
right.
That's so touching, man. And I can hear my dad going, "You're such a sissy," and I stop crying. So, you know, of course, I got my haters here too. But you know,
yeah. How do
I don't know. I have such good relationships. The really cool thing about this is that this isn't corporate America, right? I mean, I get that's just business here. That's just, all this space, and it's awesome. And every time I walk in the building, I walk out of the building. Every time I pull up, I look at it, I thank God for it. I mean, I can't believe I'm doing this. You know, I was bankrupt and upside down and backwards 22, 23 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just awesome. But it's not corporate America. I resisted. When I went to a business seminar, I could barely get into it. Right. And the guy says, he's one of the kind of NAPMA guys back then, you know, and he's like, write down the reason that you're using the business. And if it's not, and later he said, if it wasn't to develop wealth for you and your family, you were in business for the wrong reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know, mine like, I love it. That's it. And so I've got these great relationships with people that I really know. I mean, we really know each other, care about each other, love each other. And, you know, we punch each other in the face and, you know, tap each other out. But
that too is love.
Yeah, right. And so, you know, it's awesome. And so it's really funny that we really know each other really well inside and out, you know, and it's rare that one of us is in a mood. The other one's, it's almost like we're this weird family.
Yeah. Why do people have an issue with money and Jeet Kune Do? You know, because is there anything about Bruce Lee that preaches, oh yeah, be poor while you do this, suffer, right? Suffer greatly while you do this.
Because you're absolutely right, and they look at a couple of things he said that you know, organized schools were bad or whatever, and they forget that he was the best marketer maybe a martial art history, clearly
Right.
martial arts history, one of the best of all time, period. The way he'd move, he knew he wasn't doing that in a fight. He was doing that for the cinema. He was doing that because it was dramatic, and he loved drama. He was an actor. He was a writer, right? He wanted to be able to accentuate something. He didn't want to just, right? If I write a book and I say, John walked in the room, John saw Jill. Oh, that's exciting. That's scintillating. You want to make it dramatic, and that's what Bruce was doing. And so in this case, they have this dichotomy between being productive, right, and being a sellout.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Now, I have so much fun teaching. I love teaching. Obviously, I love entertaining people. If I was just a fighter, and bang bang bang, and I hear the crowd, and it's very cool. And incidentally, when you get punched in the face in public and you hear people cheer, that's a lonely feeling. but on the other hand, when you're hitting people, I'm awesome. But how much can you do that? Just last night, I said something in class, and I saw a few people go, "Huh, that's awesome."
Right.
Now, I'm going to save somebody. You're going to save somebody. Years, maybe a lifetime. They're never going to know something unless you tell it to them. Yeah. And you have to invest yourself. You have to invest your time, your heart, your soul into to be able to do that. And so it's a labor of love, and it's a win-win scenario. So you should get paid for it. Yeah. And so I really wish Jeet Kune Do people would get over that and learn to become professional and get rid of that. What you said, the shackles of thinking, if I become a professional martial artist, that means I'm a sellout. I am not a sellout. I don't do things that could make me more money just to make more money. That's not the point. Money. Right. I think if I do a good job, I'm going to make a profit.
How do you feel when this happens? Because this happened to me on Tuesday. This young lady comes by and says to me, "You're not going to remember me. I trained with you 20-something years ago. I now have an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I want to bring them to you."
I have that. It's an awesome thing.
Isn't that the best?
Yeah. It's beautiful. I had a young lady send me a friend request a couple of days, maybe a week ago, and I'm and at my age, I know I'm strikingly handsome, and women are probably on social media going, "I need to find a strikingly handsome 50-year-old," and she was an old student of mine, and I hadn't seen her in years, and so she wanted me to write a college thing for her, and I was like, "Oh, okay, great." And it's just such a wonderful thing to be part of their life, and they still remember you for the impact you made. And it's humbling. Absolutely humbling.
I remember distinctly because it was 2 of them in particular. But this was the first time in my career that I had trained a group of kids up to college age, and then they left. They had started with me when they were like 12 or 13 and spent 5 or 6 years and then moved away to college. And I was like, oh my God, this is what parents feel, Right. Like, it was.
Well, Sunday is Father's Day, and I was out with my son, and we took a photo. My son now is like, he's like 3 or 4 inches taller. He's still, just for the record, he still can't beat me at basketball. For the record. Now, over the hill officially at that point when he does. And it's coming, though, because he went from like 5'7" to like 6'2".
Yeah.
And so he's all gangly. He's all limbs right now. Yeah. Right? And so his ball handling's not good. But he's gonna beat me. I know he's gonna beat me. I'm dealing with it. I'm gonna ride off into the sunset when that happens. I'll come down and live with you.
No problem.
But we can listen to 84 and 85 music. So, But the photo is this big, tall lead. I said, man, I looked at the photo and I said to my wife, I look like a short, fat guy next to him. And, and she's like, well, he's tall and lean. And my son goes, yeah, you look like SpongeBob Dad Pants. So all of Father's Day, I got called SpongeBob Dad Pants.
All right. Okay. All right. So
that's not Jeet Kune Do. Sorry, Jeet Kune Do fans.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a hell of a thing. Yeah, all right. So in case somebody does want to get in touch with you, what's the best place? Your website, Facebook, where?
Facebook's fun.
Okay.
Probably the best way. Yeah, just send us, go to Greenville Academy on Facebook, Greenville Academy Martial Arts, and message me. You can go to my website. You can get the phone number, text us, carrier pigeon us, email us, smoke signal us, and anything like that. We're good.
Your YouTube videos are fantastic too. I got to tell you. I got to tell you. You know,
it's just I'm a wind-up toy, man. They put me in front of a camera and I just talk. I don't know what I'm gonna say.
Right. Yeah. They really are. They really are. All right, my friend. Thank you so much for taking some time out.
Thank you for having me. And once again, Dwight, what you're doing is awesome. You're just an awesome guy. The vibe's coming up. You know, your background, Mr. Marley. And who's the other guy behind you? No.
I don't know. Some guy that whips stuff around. You know.
Some guy.
Right.
But
yeah.
You keep it up. Keep it up.
Okay.
Man.
Thank you so much. All right. You take care. All righty.
Now, how do I get out of this?
Okay, that's it for today. That was episode 132 with Jason Korol of Greenville Academy. Feel free, share, like, comment, ask questions. I will ask Sifu Jason to help me in answering any questions. We'll review everything after posting. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D. Woods. At ilovejeetkundo.com, Quick Skills Series Volume 1 available. Volume 2 will be produced by the end of 2020. Next week will be July 3rd. So I'm assuming that a lot of people are going to be traveling since, you know, people have started traveling again. So I'm assuming a lot of people are going to be traveling for the Independence Day celebrations. So we're going to do just another Ask Me Anything episode of the Jeet Kune Do Dialogue. So that'll be episode 133 with yours truly at 6 p.m. Regular time. So tune in then if you're thusly inclined. And so I'll see some of you Wednesday for the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast. And hopefully I'll see some of you back here next Friday for another episode of the Jeet Kune Do Dialogues. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, signing off. Enjoy your weekend. I hope everything is straightening itself out where you are. Take care. Talk to you soon.
Hey guys, Sifu Jason, and welcome back, Greenville Academy of Martial Arts. Thank you so much for watching. Today, I'm going to tell you the story of how Ted Wong introduced me to JKD's Wave the Blade. But first, don't forget to do the right thing. Exercise your finger, click the like and subscribe button for us, please. It means so much. And if you don't, well, I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings, but something terrible will happen to you. In this case, you're going to go out. It's a date. It's another one. Here's a date. It's a nice place. Jacket and tie, you look good, dress shoes, and all you have is white socks. So, gonna blow it out of the water. You're gonna feel ridiculous. So, do the right thing. Click like and subscribe. So, my story with Ted Wong here is that, like a lot of people in Jeet Kune Do from the 80s and so forth that had trained, we had done a lot of knife work that was very Kali based, and I was with Ted Wong. And we were waiting for the another group that had been with us earlier training. So we got to the restaurant first. So he and I were at this place called the Wong Restaurant. And as you can imagine, if you've watched any of my videos, I kind of made a couple of jokes about that. And I think he perhaps thought of asking me about knife stuff because he was thinking of maybe accidentally stabbing me to death because he was sick of the bad jokes. But nevertheless, that didn't happen. And he actually says to me, you know, we got talking about knife stuff. And he said, well, you know, what's the best way to cut me or what have you? And I was like, well, it depends on what you're doing. And he goes, well, it depends on what you're doing. He goes, no, there's a best way. There's a straight cut. And I went, oh, well, then I said that there's really no knife work or blade work in Jeet Kune Do. Bruce hadn't done that. And he was really not happy that I said that. He goes, of course there has been. Where did Jeet Kune Do, where's it derived from? Well, fencing. And so if you look at the knife, and JKD as an extension of the fencing principles, which is what Bruce himself says in the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. You know, he said basically is JKD is Western style sword fencing without the sword. You know, the odd jab and a kick and whatever, those are your rapier. So it isn't really in a rocket science to then go, well, wait a minute, if I take a small tactical folding knife or what have you and utilize it like the fencer would the rapier, then I've got a pretty good self-defense tool. So we were standing in the parking lot, and he actually goes and gets a couple of sticks, and we're standing there. And of course, I was holding the weapon. You know, I had a bunch of different holds because I thought that was going to be pretty cool. That's what I'd been trained. I didn't know any better, and I had never heard of keeping the line. Now, in fencing, so that you know what I'm talking about, there's keeping the line. So we have a fighting measure, which is the safe distance between you and your opponent, where your opponent has to lunge at you or step fully toward you to hit you. In fencing, this is a serious thing because to trade blows in boxing is one thing, as Sifu Wang would say, but to trade cuts in fencing is a totally different story. In boxing, you hit me, I hit you. We're having a good fight to watch. Fencing, I cut you, you cut me, we're both going to die. So it was really important to use distance and footwork and timing as your critical things to shut down a guy's offense as your defense. So keeping the line is that the blade would stay between you and the enemy. And so long as that blade stays in it, a wall of steel is between you and your opponent, it's very difficult for them to get at you. Now, obviously, there's differences with a long rapier or even saber and a small blade. Clearly, there are differences, and there will be a few modifications, but the modifications are still slight, and the principles stay the same. So Sifu Wang and I were standing there, and I'm doing this, and he's just with the snap cut. He would just come forward and just snap cut, and I would be with a thumb reinforced grip. I explain all of this in my book, JKD's Way of the Blade, and the cut comes out, and it snaps into the target, okay, and then you're right back out. And the blade always stays between you and the opponent. So everything was right there. And so we spent, I don't know, it's hard to remember now, but 20, 30 minutes just kind of moving around the parking lot, doing this kind of with a stick, this knife sparring that we were doing. And he was showing me the principles of where Jeet Kune Do with the footwork and the fencing style blade work came together. And ever since then, and as long as I've been working on this and doing it, it's been an incredible revelation to me that I share in the book and want to share with you guys that it's simple. It's the simplest thing. It stays with Bruce's philosophy of simplicity is the key. You know, he would say simplicity is the last step of art. And really, I'm not saying that anything else you do is somehow evil or it's sinful or something. I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying, for terms of efficiency, I understand this to be the most logical extension of combat principles of any kind of blade weaponry, is to keep things as straight as possible and not be bringing that weapon offline. That's what I was saying. That's exactly what Sifu Wang was telling me. So, I always had so much fun when I learned something. It's just really cool. And so I spent this time laughing. He keeps whacking me with the stick. And I had all these little cuts and stuff. And it was just so fun because it seemed so obvious. I couldn't understand how I hadn't known this. Why did it never occur to me systematically that it was right here for me? I don't know what to tell you, to confess, to say that I should have been smarter than that, and I wasn't. It just took this episode in October 1995 in upstate New York. Shout out to Jonathan Parsons, who was where Sifu Wang and I were staying with Jonathan Parsons for that week, and at his house, and he was just a gracious host, and we did a lot of training, and this was one of the great things that came out of that period that I wanted to share with you. That JKD's Way of the Blade is because of Bruce's understanding of the fencing principles that he bases JKD's system on. Now, lastly, to say that, and people have emailed me over the years after I've had the book out, and we did another video on this, and some people have emailed me with questions about it. Well, wait a minute, Bruce didn't have a knife stuff, and that's what they were told. And again, that's not true. I was there with Ted Wong, and this is what he said they were working on. They hadn't really gone live with it, but this was it, and it's the fencing stuff. And Sifu Wang thought it was really ironic and maybe even preposterous for us to be claiming that JKD didn't have any blade work, since it was based on a blade system. You know, how that just went over everyone's head. Now, I'm not making fun of anybody, because like I said, it went over my head. And so I'm not saying that. I just want to bring it to everybody's attention. And once again, I want to just tell everybody, Ted Wong was such a gracious man. He was so sharing and giving with the information that he had, and he would give it away with really with no intent to, as he was showing it to me, he didn't charge me for that. We were just standing there waiting for the thing to open. We continued to work on it for the rest of the week, but it was just something that he felt strongly about, passionately about, that the truth of it was being lost, and he was aware of the fact that he wasn't going to be around forever. And again, he did pass away in December, late 2010. And here we are having this conversation, and the truth of it is, JKD's Way of the Blade is an extrapolation of the fencing principles. Even though it's with a shorter blade, you can still use the same principles, because the blade's a blade. Now, one more thing I'll say: the previous video, people were saying that some critics will allege that snap cuts are not going to be good enough to stop somebody. Well, once again, a snap cut is a very hard action. Once you get good at it, when I mean that, it's snapping and it's whipping the blade into the target, and that is going to more than likely damage whatever you're going to hit. It's going to damage it, but some cases sever. If you catch people in the hands or the tendons, you're going to directly impact their ability to wage war against you by diminishing their fighting capacity. A man with half a hand or a bunch of fingers missing with a lot of blood loss is not going to be able to carry the fight to you indefinitely. And there are other things we can do with it other than just attacking those things. I'm not going to get into them in a video, but it's a tremendous asset for any self-defender to learn JKD's Way of the Blade, because it's historically vetted, because the Western sword fencers are great blade fighters. They're just fantastic, and it's a product of a lot of careful thought. A couple of modifications that Sifu Wong and he got from Bruce that they made to make this as applicable as they could with a shorter blade, but it's stuff's really there, and it's really obvious. Once you think about it that way, it's like, oh yeah, this makes perfect sense. So anyway, that's how it all came to me. I mean, again, I've been training, and I've been told the same thing you probably heard too, that JKD didn't have any blade work. Nope, that's not true. And I learned that with Ted Wong, waiting for the rest of our group to show up so we can go eat some dinner. And that's how that whole thing got started. And it's just a great story. I thought I'd share it with all of our YouTube subscribers and watchers and people that push the like button and all that stuff. So hopefully, you found the story, compelling and interesting and edifying. And you can add this to your self-defense toolbox. It's a great system. It doesn't take a lot of time to get fairly proficient with, and as I put in the book, the small blade is fantastic wherever it is. You need to check to make sure it's legal for you to carry. I'm in South Carolina. Remember, South Carolina is the state that fired the first shot in the Civil War, which went on to kill 620,000 people. South Carolina can be a bit pugnacious, a bit truculent. So in our state, I can carry whatever blade I want, basically, as long as I don't use it in the commission of a crime. So if I'm not planning to, hold up a Sphinx or a QT, those are convenience stores that are very popular here, by the way, for our international listeners, then I'm generally okay. Make sure you know the laws in your area. And if you're in the UK and you can't even carry nail clippers with you, I'm sorry. You might want to move, but I'm just joking. But if you can't, sorry, but at least for the purposes of history, to say, yes, JKD has edged weapons work in it because it's derived from an edged weapons system, at least you'd know that. Okay, so again, Sifu Jason here with Greenville Academy of Martial Arts. Great to have you here. Thank you so much for watching. And if you're in the Greenville, South Carolina area, please check us out. You can check us out online, greenvilleacademy.com. Facebook, Greenville Academy. Instagram, we're on there. I forget what the tag is for that. You'll find it. Go ahead and look. A little bit of work. Keep you busy. Be good for you. Especially since you're probably not going to get another date if you didn't hit like, because you got your stupid white socks on, and she's never going to call you back. All right. Catch you next time.